So I think we see gods because we just see them. And then later on we had to explain why those were not real. But I personally don't want to get rid of them. When I'm out in nature, I still look for those things. And I still take meaning from them. And even if I decide, well, that's just my brain talking to myself, I listen. I think I'm noticing things subtly through structures in my brain that have evolved to tell me. Now, I don't want to be deluded, so I don't go, oh, it's a spirit and it's telling me to do this or that, you know. It's kind of like if you have voices in your head, that's okay, but if they start telling you to do bad things, then seek help or don't listen to them. It's kind of the same way. When I'm in nature, you know, I look up at the clouds and I try to see, you know, I try to see shapes, not too many shapes in those clouds right now, in the clouds, and if I can hear a voice talking to me, you know, I don't think that it's really a spirit, but I'll listen as a poet, you know, as an artist, I'll go, hey, what is that ocean trying to tell me? And it's surprising. Sometimes it tells you very personal things. And of course, I believe it's my subconscious telling me things. But, you know, what I listen to dreams, my dreams at night, I don't have to think those are messages from God. I listen to them even though they're messages from myself. And since I'm collecting all this information that I can't even process constantly, it's good that I listen to myself, because it's things that I've heard and then missed and then rattle around in there and then come back up somewhat processed. So to me, that's spirituality. I reduce that to a bit of a psychological thing, but then I go back to that quantum edge where, I don't know, maybe there are spirits and things, you know, I'm just listening, and you gotta hold back though. In the end of the day, I like to entertain metaphysical theories. I have some. If I believe the metaphysics, I have a whole theory of the metaphysics I believe in, but I don't really believe in metaphysics. So, gosh, I know I missed something else, and I'm sure this is over 10 minutes, but it was very interesting. Maybe we'll have another chance to talk about anything I missed, or if you want to bring up something I didn't answer. I know there were more items on my list to talk about. Oh yeah, for example, the education enlightenment. Okay, I will talk about that. The education and enlightenment thing. That was a really good point, because at first I want to say, hey, I don't think that educated people are more enlightened. I don't think educated cultures are more enlightened. I really think there's sort of all of these personality types, and depending on your culture and education, you may promote certain kinds of, you know, enlightened types. But I just know there's lots of indigenous people with enlightened, you know, I've met them sometimes. You know, I've met people from all kinds of uneducated backgrounds that maybe miss certain information, then you'd be surprised the other information they did collect. And as far as kind of personal, you know, kindness and spiritual awareness of compassion and being a decent person, that kind of enlightenment you find everywhere. But I didn't want to say that, because, you know what, I believe that education does enlighten us. That's all you're really saying. So, you know, it's possible to jump all over you for that. You're an elitist and you think, you know, we're more enlightened in the U.S. because we got more money and can pay for schools. But I don't want to jump on you for that, because I do get it, because I agree with you. Education leads to enlightenment. Sometimes by a long route. But even if then, by the process of elimination, if you go on a long, wrong route, at least then you go, oh yeah, it was wrong. You learn through that education. So I came up with a theory. And I love to be self-effacing, so I'd almost call it a crackpot theory, but it's not that. I like it a lot. I need to think about it more. You just got me thinking about it now. But I was realizing this. I think hierarchies make us less enlightened. Why? Because they promote ostracization, they promote groupthink, they promote sycophancy, they promote ass-kissing, and the ass-kissers are rewarded. And these are all things that are anti-enlightenment. So I think one reason we do see what I started out talking about, where primitive, uneducated peoples can be more enlightened, or just as enlightened as the educated people, say, of the West, I think it's because what you see in those indigenous cultures is very flat societies. So even if there is a hierarchy, and often the hierarchy is bullshit, there is no chief. You know, one guy is the chief when it's time to go hunting, a different guy is the chief when it's time to get across the river, okay? But anyway, even if there is a hierarchy, it's very flat. So that's my theory that I'm thinking about, that I think the reason that education is enlightening, but the reason it doesn't fully enlighten as much as we'd expect in these modern societies is because we have very tall, huge, we are so far away from the top of this pyramid of hierarchy in our culture that is working against us. That's dragging our enlightenment down, even as our education is driving it up. And where it actually is bobs around compared to people that have flat hierarchies, live close to the land, have access to that kind of natural spirituality that I was mentioning earlier. So I wonder what you think about that. You can give me a reply or just think about it. Maybe we'll talk about it later, but I'll probably talk about it later because I can tell when these ideas click and that I either want to come back and say, no, I don't agree with that, or this is a new idea that I'll have for the next 20 years. Because that's what I've shared in some of my videos, especially ones I'm marking with the relativistic skepticism, is, you know, some ideas I've had for 20 years and I've checked them out and I've refined them a little bit, but they've been steady enough that without tending to be a super certain person, you know, I have some amount of faith in that it's good knowledge. And this is one that's not like that. I just thought about it. Same thing with that Lamarckian. The Lamarckian evolution applying to evolution of the mind. I love that. I can't believe that I didn't think of that. So I appreciate that. And I'll talk to you later.